Hello, and welcome back to Age of the Classics, where today we await the thrilling conclusion of Huckleberry Spencer. Where last we left off, Bert and Spencer had just helped Jim escape from the Phelps's farm. And now, the end of the story. Chapter 14, yours, Huck Spence. We were all as happy as we could be. Jim was glad to be free, and Spence was glad that Spence had helped Jim. And, well, Bert was the gladdest of them all because he was shot in the leg. Spencer and Bert, well, Jim and Spencer looked at Bert's legs, and they weren't so happy then. His leg was hurting something fierce, and there was a lot of blood. So they put him in the tent, and they found an old shirt and tied it around Bert's leg. And Spence told Jim, "Bert needs a doctor." Jim agreed. He said, "I was a free man now. Maybe they'll catch me again, but I don't want my friend to die." So Spence went to find a doctor. Bert didn't like that idea, but Spence had to go. Jim promised to hide in the woods when the doctor came. The doctor was a nice, kind old man. "My brother's hurt," Spence told him. "We were hunting and he had an accident and he was shot in the leg." Doctor came with Spencer to the river, and when he saw the canoe, he stopped. "It don't look none too strong," the doctor said. "It's a good canoe," Spencer said. "I'll find a bigger one." "Then you need to go across the river to that island. I'll be there soon with my brother." "Fine, I'll see you there." Spence was really tired, and so he found a quiet place and went to sleep. When he woke up, it was late. He ran to the doctor's house, but he wasn't there. "He's helping the boy who was shot," his wife explained. So Spence decided to go back to Bert and Jim. So Spence ran to the canoe, but as he turned the corner, he met Uncle Silas. "Bert, what are you doing here? Where have you been? Your Aunt Sally been worried sick about you." "Well, Matt and I went to look for the slave, yeah," Spencer told him. "Matt, be back soon." "Well, come back to the house with me now." Spencer didn't know what to do, so he went back to the house, and Aunt Sal was real glad to see him. She laughed and cried and then kissed him. But Spencer said, "I gotta go and find Matt." No. "Don't do that. You stay here," Aunt Sally said. She was worried about Matt. Well, Spence really wanted to go, but he decided to stay at the house. He didn't want to give Aunt Sally more trouble. Spence slept badly that night because he was thinking about Bert. At breakfast, Aunt Sally was still real worried about Matt. Then she stopped talking when she saw something outside. It was Bert Sawyer. Young man was carrying him, and the old doctor was with him too. Then he saw Jim. His hands were tied behind him. Aunt Sally ran crying to Bert. She said, "He's dead. He's dead. I just know he's dead." Bert turned his head and he said something, but Spence didn't hear what it was. Aunt Sally shouted, "He's alive! It's a miracle! He's alive!" And then she started crying again. Well, Spence went to see Bert, but Spence also listened to the men talking because Spence was still worried about Jim and didn't want to hurt him. Some of the men wanted to kill Jim. Some men hit him a few times on the head. Jim never said nothing. The old doctor said, "Don't you hurt him. He's not a bad man. He helped me to save that boy's life, and he didn't fight us when it tied his hands. The old men stopped hurting Jim, but they locked him in the cabin again. Bert slept all that day. Aunt Sally sat with him all night, too. In the morning, Spencer went to his room. Aunt Sally was still there. Bert was sleeping quietly. So Spencer waited, and then after a while, Bert opened his eyes. "Hello," Bert said. "Why am I home? Where's that raft? Where's Jim?" "Everything's fine," Spencer said. "Good. Did you tell Aunt Sally?" "Tell me what, Matt?" "About the escape. It was great fun." Aunt Sally thought Bert was crazy, but Spence told her nearly everything, and she got angry. Then she said, "I hope you enjoyed it, but that sleigh's in big trouble now." Bert looked at Spencer. He said, "Spencer, you said everything was fine. Isn't Jim still free?" "Him?" said Aunt Sally. "No, he is not. He's locked in the cabin again." Bert sat up and he looked real angry. He shouted, "You can't keep him. He's a free man." "What do you mean, man? Are you crazy?" said Aunt Sally. "No, I'm not," said Bert. "He was the widow Douglas's slave. The widow died 2 months ago. But before she died, she freed him. He's not a slave anymore." "Then why did you and Bert help him escape?" "We wanted an adventure," said Bert. "He was a great adventure, too." Then Bert's eyes opened wide. He was looking at the door. "Aunt Polly," he said. Bert lived with his Aunt Polly in St. Petersburg, but that was like 1,100 miles away. What was she doing here? Now them boys were in big trouble. Aunt Sally jumped up to kiss Aunt Polly. Bert looked away. Spencer hid under the bed. Aunt Polly pushed Aunt Sally away and said, "What is the matter with you, Bert?" "That's not Bert," said Aunt Sally. "That's Matt. Aunt Bert is Bert. Where's Bert? He was here a minute ago." Aunt Polly said, "He is under the bed, but he's not Bert. He's Huck Spence. Come out from under that bed, Huck Spence." Well, Spencer came out and he was real scared. Aunt Sally didn't understand until Aunt Polly told her about Spence. Well, then Spence told his story. "I'm real sorry, Miss Phelps," Spencer said. "Well, you can still call me Aunt Sally." Then Aunt Polly said, "Bert is right. The widow is dead and Jim's a free man. Thank you for your letters, Sally. You wrote about Bert and Matt was at home with me and I knew there was trouble. What's Bert doing this time, I asked myself. So I got on the next steamboat and came right away." Well, then the boys went out and got Jim. He was real happy to see him. And Jim was happier when he heard the news. He was a free man. He felt bad about the widow. Bert gave Jim $40 because he was a good prisoner. Jim looked at Spencer. He said, "Didn't I tell you, Huck? I have hairy arms. That means I'm going to be rich. Now I have $40 and I'm rich." "Let's run away to town," Bert said. We'll buy some warm clothes and then we'll go on a new adventure. But Spence didn't have any money for new clothes. He said, my money was with the judge. Pap probably got it now. Don't you worry none about your pap, Jim said. He don't have your money and he ain't coming back. How do you know? Spencer asked. Jim didn't tell him. Spencer asked again and again because he really wanted to know. At last Jim said, well, remember that house we found? One on the river? There's a dead man in the house. I told you not to look at him. Huck, that dead man was your pap. So you can get your money whenever you want it. Well, Bert's almost well now, so I guess that's the end of the story. I'm glad it's finished. Writing's real difficult. I don't think I ever's gonna write another book. I'm gonna leave soon because Aunt Sally wants to teach me to be polite, but I've done that before. I didn't really like it. The end. Yours, Huck Spence. This concludes the reading of Huckleberry Spencer. I find it interesting that Huckleberry Spencer can be such a polarizing figure. When kids look at Huck, they see a rambunctious young kid and perhaps even want to emulate his adventures. But sometimes people look at Huck and they say, he's a liar. He did hardly anything but lie in this story. And they look at the fact that he stole, he ran away from a perfectly good home, didn't really care about what other people thought, or did he? I would say it cannot be overstated how much Huck Spence really did care about people. Even though he could have gone and done pretty much anything after Jim was caught, he went back. Why did he go back? He went back because, perhaps above anything else, Huckleberry Spencer was a true friend. And true friends don't just abandon those that they love and are loyal to. I think there's something to be said about that. Anyway, thank you for joining us on Age of the Classics. We hope you'll tune in next week. As always, I'm Bert. I've been your host through this narrative. Come back again.